Have you ever felt overwhelmed by your bustling mind? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about transforming challenges into superpowers. We're going to discover strategies to harness your unique mental energy and excel in business. Get ready to turn your distinct traits into unbeatable strengths. Stay tuned and transform your approach to success.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome, Freedom Blueprint community. This is going to be kind of a different topic. We're going to talk about something a little bit different. And if you saw the title, spoiler alert, that gives you a little bit of insight to what this is about. But so check this out. So studies have shown that human attention span is 8 seconds now. Let's think about that, 8 seconds. Now, some other research I did said that goldfish attention span is 9 seconds. Now, I'm not really sure how they would test that, but think about it though. 8 seconds, man, that is not a lot of time. And as we dig into today's topic, I just want to make this statement up front. I'm not a doctor. I didn't play one on TV. I don't know a lot of the medical world. So the things I'm going to talk about today are from my lens and just my lens. So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just going to tell you some things that I got going on, and hopefully it helps. Hopefully it resonates with you. But so let's jump into a quote before we dive all the way in. So the quote for the episode is, "Your limitation, it's only your imagination. Push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you." It's pretty awesome. So what we're talking about today is ADHD. And what's interesting is when I was thinking about doing this topic on this episode, I didn't realize now apparently ADD is now ADHD. I have had this my whole life. I've gotten to, learn all about, ADD or ADHD or whatever you want to call it. So I thought, man, what a cool topic. So studies show that 4% of people have ADHD, 4%. And obviously from undiagnosed, who knows, right? Who knows? My guess is probably more than 4%, but I really don't know. And the truth is, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, like we use it as a punchline. Like if you listen to the podcast, there's times where you'll hear, I'll say something like, "Oh, squirrel," or "Oh, I got to get back on the interstate." And I do that because honestly, I need that verbal, "Hey, get back on the, get back on topic." And it's kind of my guardrail to myself to get me back to where I need to be, because I do, right? I do have this, and I know I'm not the only one. I think our industry, there's a lot of people that have this same, I don't even know what to call it. I'm not going to call it a disorder, but so a couple of things that I guess maybe a couple of symptoms that you can attribute to this is difficulty sustaining attention, right? So hard to stay on task, being unorganized or disorganized, forgetfulness, easily distracted, avoiding lengthy tasks, difficulty following through. And really there can be impacts on some social and work life too, because of these things, because you're having a hard time with those things. And really, so, if any of these you kind of hear and you go, "Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me." I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. And really my goal for today is really just to inform you kind of the journey I've been through. And for me, I think it's a superpower. I mean, I do. As a kid, I didn't see it that way, and certainly my teachers didn't see it that way. But as I've gotten older and I've realized, okay, cool. Here's my superpower. Now, how do I make sure that I can kind of stay in that zone? That's really been that's been a huge part of my success, is to be able to take that and use it as a superpower and build rails around it. So, there's a lot of negative, and I think a lot of times when people think about ADHD, they think about it from a negative, kind of a negative way. So I'm going to talk about some of the risks, or some of the things that you kind of have to be aware of is, impulsive and risk taking, which, here's the deal. For most of us listening to this, we're entrepreneurs. So that just kind of goes with the territory, right? Like impulsive, risk taking. Okay, yeah, that's me. Because really, as you think about that, you can think of that as a positive and negative, right? There's some negative things, right? There's some negative risk taking things you can do, and there is definitely some positive risk taking things you can do. Another side effect is the self-medication part of it. And I can tell you, for me, for a lot of years, I used coffee to self-medicate, which, I don't know. I used coffee to self-medicate, and which is interesting because now I've stopped drinking coffee a couple months ago, and I switched over to tea. And I have, from a health standpoint, I've seen a lot of really positive things that have come from that. But yeah, I mean, self-medicate, I mean, it could be, alcohol. It could be, there's a lot of things that it could be to kind of self-medicate. And really the self-medication part of it typically comes from when your brain is spinning out of control. You know it, you can feel it, you can sense it. And sometimes you're like, I don't really know how to stop that. Right. So and again, you can use it for positive. I'll give you a good example. This is Saturday that I'm recording this, and right now it's 6:00 in the morning, and I woke up at 3:30 in the morning with this rattling in my brain to do this episode and get it out to the world. So again, that's what I'm saying. It's a superpower, right? Like, how cool that I was able that my body was so excited and my brain was so fired up that at 3:30, 4:00 in the morning, it got me up to have me do this. My wife might disagree. She's like, "Can you be quiet? I'm trying to sleep." But so a lot of that too, because there's these kind of spikes. Dopamine regulation becomes a little bit of a thing too. And if you don't know what dopamine is, Google it. I'm not a medical professional, and I imagine if any medical professionals listen to this, I can't imagine there are, but who knows? They would probably have so many thoughts that they would like to add to this. And again, this is kind of my journey and telling my story. And again, I hope it helps somebody. I hope that somebody goes, oh, you know what? That's a good tip or trick, or man, I didn't think about it that way, or whatever. Again, the whole point of this podcast is to do nothing more than to give back to an industry that has really done incredible things for me and my family. And what a trade it is. It's pretty amazing. So talking a little bit about, kind of my journey, growing up with ADHD is, school was hard, and I didn't get it. I didn't know why. I didn't ever feel like a stupid kid, but for me to sit in a room and have somebody talk at me all day long was not really my best learning. But man, if you hand me a project and you let me, work on it and touch it and feel it and all these other things, I mean, I would learn and then I would retain it. But I'm certainly not one that's going to open a book and go through it and read the words and then stick in my brain. Like, that's just not who I am. Even now, I read a lot of books. And by read a lot of books, I mean listen to a lot of books. I mean, my Audible has got hundreds of books in there that I listen to on a regular basis. And I'm very much a visual or audio and visual person. That was different because, growing up, there wasn't a lot of books on tape. There was no Audible. There was no YouTube, which is such a great tool. But yeah, school was a little bit difficult. Yeah, and during school too, it was a lot of times it was trying to understand like what was wrong with me. Like, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? And again, This is the 90s. I don't even know how much medical stuff was done at that point. And I know they kind of over medicated, which, is probably maybe a thing now. And I know as a kid, a couple times they tried different medicines on me, and I never liked them. And even now as an adult, I'm weird about any kind of, like I'll barely take an aspirin if my head hurts. Like I'm just always been weird about that. And who knows? Maybe that's a tie-in. Maybe it's not. I'm not really sure. So because I started to understand this a little bit different, I started to understand what my limitations were because of how my brain worked. And as I got out of school and I started to venture out into the world, the big, wide open world, because, when you're in school, you're in a, pretty small little bubble there. But as I got out and I started to realize, here's one of the things I realized, that I'm not going to be the best at everything, and nobody is. So I started to really frame what I did around my superpower versus what my limitations were. And then if there was something I had limitations, and this was really as I started my journey of starting businesses, I would figure out what my limitations were, and then I would find really awesome people that their superpower was whatever my limitation was, and then I would go and just empower them and, quite frankly, stay out of their way, because I'm not good at what they're doing anyway. So the best thing I could do for them and for me is to stay the hell out of their way and let them do what it is that they are so good at doing. So here's a couple of things that I do that I wanted to share. So structured routine. This is a really, really big one for me. I can always sense when something's out of whack a little bit if I fall out. So like when I travel, my structure, my routine's a little bit off, and I can always sense it. But, creating a daily routine, and listen, for a lot of times that's waking up on time, eating at a certain time, working out, exercise, decompress time. This can all really help. Again, and as I say this is just not for people that have ADHD as a superpower. This is really for anybody. You should have a structured routine. You just should. So first thing is the structured routine. Another thing is organizational tools. I have learned kind of my trigger, right? So I've learned to notice when I'm getting out of whack or out of balance. And for me, typically my first thing is my desk. Man, if my desk starts to look cluttery, or my office or my workspace in general, not only do I kind of dial in on that, but I've taught my team around me, my wife, my business partners, hey, if you ever come in and see this, say something. Let me know to make sure that it's a trigger, that it triggers me to, hey, I need to clean up, organize, take a minute, take a break, and get back to what it is that to be organized. Another tool and this is actually a recent tool that I started using, is a tool called a Remarkable. And if you don't know what it is, it's basically a notebook that's digital. And yes, I have an iPad. Yes, I can write on an iPad, and I can do the exact same thing that I do on this Remarkable that I do with the iPad, except for this Remarkable has not one single app on it. There's no other app. So it's literally just me writing notes, or whatever work I'm doing, I can do it on that tablet, and it works. And honestly, that has been such a game changer for me, because when I have my tablet and I try to do that, there's a lot going on, right? You have access to the whole World Wide Web, and when I have the Remarkable, I just don't have that. The other thing is I set a deadline to every task. And which I have to, because if I don't, then it will take forever. It'll never end, because I never put a time to it. So that's the first one, or the second one for is organizational tools. So the Remarkable's been remarkable for me. It's a really cool tool. It may not be for everybody, but again, all I'm doing is sharing my story. And then putting a deadline on every task is another huge thing that's helped me along my journey. The next thing is going to be time management. Time management is just difficult. And honestly, if it were not for, let me tell you about the tools. So first of all, my calendar. my calendar is my absolute lifeblood. And if I don't have my calendar, I will get lost in my day so easily if I don't have things on my calendar. And I mean, I will put things on my calendar like check my email. So my calendar is very important. And not only that, when I get up every morning, as I'm kind of looking at my day as a whole, what is my day looking like? I take my phone and I actually physically set an alarm on my phone for every single meeting that I have. And I do that because I need that shake. I need that, hey, because I used to have it where I'd set it up on I'd just have a calendar reminder and that really didn't do what I needed it to do for me. So it didn't help me. So that's been a really big tool for me, is just every single morning when I get up, I go through my calendar. I'm like, all right, I got a meeting at 9. All right. So 8:56, I'm going to set a timer, and I do 8:56 because then it gives 4 minutes until another alarm comes up. So if I snooze the first one, I can still get there and be there on time. So that's a big one for me. The next thing is using to-do lists or task lists. Remarkable has the features to do to-do list. I do not use it currently, and I don't even think that I will use it. I use the one in Google, and that's actually new because I was using an app called Todoist for a very long time, but I've switched over to Google, so I have less apps open at a time. But Google has a task list in there, so each day I put my task, whatever I need to do in there, and I can make sure that at the end of the day that I get all my things done. Because what's nice for me, and I think for a lot of people, that checking things off, and I know with Google I'm not physically checking, but I'm clicking a button and it's done. There's something satisfying about having a task and getting it done and clicking the button and moving on. That's just a really cool. That's really cool for me. One of the other things is going to be when I'm tackling projects, I'm doing them in short spurts because I have to. I cannot sit down and work on a 3-hour project. It is not. I can't do it. And honestly, I would be doing the project a disservice and myself because I cannot stay on that track for that long. One of the tools that I use is something called it's called a Pomo Focus or tomato timer. If you Google any kind of timer, there's all kinds of free timers out there. So a lot of times when I'm sitting down to work on a project, I will set that timer. And typically it's 25 minutes. So if I'm working on a project, I will hit that button and I will work on it with nothing else going on. And that's kind of my catch-all. And then when it's done, I stop what I'm doing. And if I need to go back and do it again, I'll take a break, I'll walk, stretch, whatever. And then I'll hit it and hit the button and go back to doing it again. That's been a really good tool for me. Another thing is kind of mindfulness, relaxation, breathing. There's a lot of things around breathing. Yoga is a big one. I've tried yoga. I just can't, I can't do it. I can't do it. And honestly, so for those of you about, the Saturday Night Live in the 90s age, anytime I'm doing yoga, I always feel like I can picture Hans and Franz from that Saturday Night Live skit looking at me like, look at the girly man, which I'm not saying that yoga's girly. I'm just saying in my head, that's what I picture as Hans and Franz trying to pump me up and talking bad about me. But yoga's just not my thing. I guess I'm just not very flexible or whatever. But for me, music is an amazing tool for me. And it's weird because there's different musics. So there's sometimes where I will play 90s rap. I mean, I will be rocking out and that's what, and I can work while it's all going on. It's great. And then there's other times it'll be a classical piano in the faint distance that I'm working. And that just kind of chills my brain out sometimes to allow me the time and space that I need and just kind of that repetition, maybe. Those are some things that really help me. 'Cause, exercise, diet, that's the next thing, right? So being healthy, watch what you eat, make sure you're eating. I mean, there's times I had a phase where I would get up early and I would not eat until dinner. And I mean, your brain needs the fuel. but I wasn't doing a good job with it. And I wasn't giving my body the fuel that it needed to be, a top performer. So really for me, getting up in the morning and I've got my routine, right? So I've got my teas, and I've got my new little AG1, which has been a new thing that I've started a couple weeks back, which is fantastic. I really like it. And sometimes there's a smoothie and sometimes they're not. And that really kind of helps me get going in the mornings to kind of boost what I got going on. The next thing is going to be exercise. If you don't exercise, man, just go for a walk. Just do something to get your body moving. I know for me, running is one of those things. It's such a love-hate relationship, not gonna lie. I love the effects that I get from running. I hate the thought of running. It's always like this weird thing. And I finally am getting back to a point where I'm able to run a little bit more. I actually broke my leg a couple years back, and it's been kind of a long journey back to where I can start running. And slowly I'm starting to be able to do that now. And I know that when I run, there is like this amazing, like, I guess they call it runner's high, which thank goodness it doesn't take me very long. I can run half a mile and I'm like, boom, runner's high is I'm like, woo, I'm so fired up. I'm ready to crush the whole world, and it's great. But regular exercise, whatever it is for you that helps you kind of get in that space, make sure and make time to do that. Just make sure. The other thing is sleep. Sleep is one of those things that, man, if you don't have enough sleep, and I say that I got up at 3:30 this morning. But that's okay. I went to bed at like 9, but, sleep is one of those things where your body needs time to recover. And that's just another one of those pieces to it is make sure you're getting a good night's sleep. There's all kinds of apps out there now, which I don't use them anymore, but I did for a long time. That would kind of like check my sleep and make sure, because I knew I wasn't sleeping good. And there were some things that I was doing that was affecting my sleep. One of them was alcohol, man, was just trashing my sleep. And when I decided to not drink, that really shifted to where my sleep and my blood pressure, I mean, they got really good really fast, and that was pretty cool. But sleep is important. So make sure you got a really comfortable mattress. Make sure that your room is the right temperature. Like, give yourself time to refresh. Like, give your brain that time that it needs in order to just, refresh itself. So, sleep is a big one. Next one is limiting distractions. Now, that can be tough. I mean, in the world we live in, you think about how many distractions are out there. Think about social media, and I mean, how easy is it, and how many, and I know I'm not the only one that does this. You're like, oh, I'm going to look on something real quick. I'm going to find it on social media. And next thing you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 20 minutes and I have literally scrolled. I don't even know what I'm looking for now. What was I doing? So just be aware. I'm not saying don't be on social media or whatever. Just make sure that you're being intentional about your time and what you're doing with it. So one of the things about me that's a little bit weird when it comes to limiting distractions is there is time. So if I'm in my office, in my shop, I can't get anything done. There's so many different, things going on that it's really hard for me to do anything strategical whatsoever. I can do some tactical stuff, but strategic stuff is really, really difficult for me to do because there's so much going on. But when I'm at my home office, right, I have a very, slash studio. Everything is built the way I want it to build, and I can absolutely control the environment. And it's crazy how much more stuff I can get done here because of that. So the weird thing about that is that even though I'm easily distracted from my shop, dude, when I go to an airport, I don't know what the deal is. I can get so much done in an airport. Like if I'm sitting in a terminal, and maybe it's just because there's so much noise going on that I can't even pay attention to it. But I'll sit in an airport, man, and I will absolutely get so much done while all this is, life is happening all around me and hustle and bustle and all that kind of stuff. But again, like I mentioned before, music is a big part of it for me. So there's times where, first thing this morning, I had earbuds in, I had it cranked wide open. might or might not have been, singing some tunes. I'll spare you guys I'll spare you guys some of the details, but yeah, so limiting distractions. Listen, support networks is another one too. Like there's Facebook groups, there's all kinds of things out there for support groups and things to help you out. But again, I want to make sure that for anybody listening who has this, and I'm going to call it a superpower because it is a superpower if you just have to learn how to harness it. But for anybody who kind of has that and they don't feel like, man, this is my superpower, there is people out there, there is networks out there, and I can promise you my email address is in the show notes and at justin@justindeese.com. I will be happy to communicate and connect with you and go through, kind of what my routine looks like. And because I do think that it's important for all of us to understand what our superpowers are and our limitations and just kind of live in that world. So, if you know your superpower, just stay in that. And the things that you're not great at, let somebody else is going to be great at that anyway. So don't spend a whole lot of time, effort, and energy kind of going through all that kind of stuff. Just pass it on, stay in your lane. So real quick, because I know we're running up on time. So key things: mindful relaxation practices. That's one. The second is going to be regular exercise. The third is going to be healthy diet. The fourth is going to be good sleep. The fifth is going to be limited distractions. And I've got the sixth as support network. We're going to just call it 5. We're going to stick with 5. I think that I'm glad I got to talk about this. This has been kind of on my heart a little bit, and I haven't been really quite sure how to talk about it. And sometimes when I think about it, I get a little bit emotional because I think about my daughter, and my daughter has this superpower, and getting to kind of help her navigate what that looks like can be a little bit emotional for me. And so I wanted to be real careful that I didn't get super emotional on this, and I didn't. I think I did good because there definitely could have. I could get emotional talking about the topic because I'm passionate about it, right? I'm passionate about it, and it stinks to see people not harness the superpower and allow them to kind of bring them down a little bit, and it stinks. So there you go. Focus on success, thriving in business with ADHD. I hope this is helpful. And I hope you found value in today's episode. Hey, make sure to subscribe to Freedom Blueprint Podcast, leave a review, and share with fellow leaders who could benefit from mastering the art of thriving in business with ADHD. Listen, just like in your business, Google reviews really helps people find you. No different here. So take a few minutes. If you're on Apple, it's a little bit hard to do it, but if you get into Apple, you got to scroll all the way down and it'll say leave a review, and you go in there and leave a review. That is super helpful to me and to the show. But until next time, embrace the unique strengths your superpowers bring to your entrepreneurial journey and watch your business and leadership transform. This is Justin Deese signing off from Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Stay motivated, leverage your advantages, and as always, keep crushing it.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.